Hello, I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. In Louisiana, most people anticipate crawfish season more than the actual season of spring.
A new device from the LSU Ag Center may help crawfish farmers make that season even more abundant. This week, TWILA's Neil Melanson shows us a new vessel that's making waves.
If this crawfish boat looks like it's got a little helper, you're right. This is a wave or water assessment vessel, and it's making waves in crawfish ponds across Louisiana. LSU Ag Center researchers are testing it out as part of a program to help farmers grow more and better crawfish.
We've got 7 different water quality parameters we look at. Temperature and conductivity is one. We look at temperature, conductivity, pH, nitrate, ammonia, dissolved oxygen, and then we can alternate between turbidity or chlorophyll depending on the pond type. This water assessment vessel is something we use to trace water quality parameters around different pond types, and we're really keying in on agricultural bodies of water, irrigation ponds, crawfish ponds, using it to trace different parameters like dissolved oxygen, nutrients through a water system.
Today, LSU researchers are at Four Oaks Farms in Morganza, where farmers Marty and Garrett Fry are always looking for ways to grow their operation. Garrett got to try out the drone and says he's particularly interested in some of the measurements it takes.
I would use it though for oxygen levels because, some ponds, you'll see crawfish climbing out of the pond or some ponds you won't see any crawfish in them, but you're still catching, a good amount of crawfish out of it. So I'd like to see, exactly what the oxygen levels are and if there's like a difference in, this pond to the next pond.
Dr. Hayes and his research team says the drone is easy to set up and use, as well as the fact that it's economical.
I always say if we can do it in academics, then stakeholders can definitely get on it. We really want to try to promote the technology adoption in agriculture. So we want to have the hands-on opportunities for stakeholders and partners to look, see, drive, get an opportunity for them to see the dynamics and see if it can be of value in the future for them.
Hayes says they've been testing these waves for about a year now and sees use for them both for ag and non-ag purposes.
We use it in various types of pond systems, industrial oxidation, municipal wastewater treatment, irrigation ponds, looking at algae production. So really dynamic tool that we can utilize for both research and extension.
Now, one thing the folks at Four Oaks Farm says that they'd like to see from these vessels is using the cameras to get a population count so they'll better know when to start harvest. One thing's for sure, we're definitely going to see more of these vehicles in crawfish ponds in the near future. Reporting from Morganza, I'm Neil Melanson.
The LSU Ag Center has about half a dozen of these vessels they're testing across Louisiana. If you're interested in having your ponds tested by one, we'll give you more information on our website at twilatv.org. Well, sticking with crawfish, let's take a look at the prices from around the state.
Down in Houma, you can go to Rouse's on St. Charles, where they're $2.79 a pound live and $4.29 a pound boiled.
In Amite City, head over to the Seafood Shack, where they're $2.69 a pound live and $3.99 a pound boiled.
And in Natchitoches, Louisiana Crawfish Company has crawfish for $2.75 a pound live and $3.49 a pound boiled.
Make sure wherever you're getting them, you do two things. One, check those prices before you go buy them. They change at least every week.
And two, make sure you're getting Louisiana crawfish, which is why the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board reminds you to always ask before you eat. The 2025 Louisiana Legislative Session is underway at the state capitol. One major issue looming over the entire state: insurance. Governor Jeff Landry has made it clear insurance is a top priority for him and his administration this year. There are a number of bills before the legislature on the subject, some backed by the governor and others by Commissioner of Insurance Tim Temple. We will watch them closely. Louisiana Farm Bureau Legislative Specialist Joe Mapes says what happens with that legislation will likely set the tone for everything else that happens at the Capitol this spring.
Well, since the governor and the insurance commissioner are at odds with each other on this issue, I predict that's going to cause some tension at the legislature. The governor's got his own package of insurance reform legislation, and then you've got a business package, I think, of their reform legislation. So never the twain shall meet this session. I don't know, but it's up to the governor and the insurance commissioner. And in regard to the rest of the issues, they're all going to be affected by this one umbrella issue, I would call it, because insurance is going to loom over the entire legislature, because you and I and everybody I talk to are sick of the high insurance rates, and they really don't want to hear a story about why they're high. They just want them to be lower.
Louisiana Farm Bureau has a presence at the state capitol daily to protect the interests of Louisiana's farmers and ranchers. If you want to stay up to date on those issues, head over to our website at twilatv.org.
As soon as we filmed last week's show, which started with the story of the retaliatory tariffs announced, the news broke that many of those were paused for 90 days while many of the countries began coming to the negotiating table. Louisiana Farm Bureau Commodity and Public Policy Director Andy Brown also sat down last week to break down what all the tariff talk is all about and what farmers are saying about it. Brown says trade negotiations will hopefully help farmers in the long run, but in the short term, he is highlighting the desperate need for a new farm bill.
And this is where, we can go back to those previous podcasts and the voter voice campaign. And it's farmers aren't super vocal about a farm bill just because it sounds good, because they want a bill with farm on it. It's real impact, and it's a real thing that is in turn because we didn't get a farm bill done and we have outdated safety net reference prices and all these things that we won't re-explain today. But when those are outdated, that safety net is lower, there's a lot more room to fall.
Of course, the tariff and global trade situation is ever changing, and we will try to keep you updated on these issues. Because these issues affect farmers and ranchers, they also will affect consumers.
There are a few more shiny belt buckles and Grand Champion cattle in Louisiana following the Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers Youth Livestock Show. The annual event took place at the Florida Parishes Arena in Amite, April 11th and 12th. Organizers say nearly 200 head of cattle competed in the show. Louisiana Farm Bureau President Richard Fontenot and his wife Rhonda spent time at the show talking to young people about their experiences leading up to the competition. Livestock Show Chair Amanda Douillon of Lafayette Parish says she enjoys seeing these young people grow as they raise their animals.
They're learning so much responsibility, and to me that is so important. The responsibility, the friendships that they gain, just the caring and the loving that they give their animals, making sure that they get up every morning, feed and water them, and every afternoon making sure that they're there feeding, watering, walking, taking care of them, just showing them compassion and love, all while still staying in agriculture at such a young age.
If you would like to see photos of the winning cattle from the YFNR Youth Livestock Show, visit our website at twilatv.org. I think most of you would agree that when it comes to Louisiana agriculture, our state is unique. From crawfish to sugarcane, even the way we raise cattle is a little different. That's why a group of ranchers from Kentucky came to the Bayou State.
These cattlemen and women are bringing home a unique perspective and hopefully a few Louisiana ideas to implement on their own ranches. TWILA's Josh Meeks tagged along for their trip and has more.
About 50 Kentuckians signed up to fly down to the Gulf Coast to see Baton Rouge, Breaux Bridge, and Bell City, and much, much more. Their tour wrapped up at Sweet Lake Land and Oil. Based on the title, you can tell they're more than just a cattle operation. Founded in 1933 in Cameron Parish, raising cattle in these wetlands is not a common sight for people in the bluegrass state. Kentucky doesn't get anywhere near the level of heat as Louisiana does, but they do see some high 90s days. Seeing how cattle are raised in that climate on a daily basis can be a great value to them back home.
We get that extreme heat for a few days, and we get that extreme humidity for a few days. Not nearly the amount of time that you do, but yet, you see some things, but we also have to balance it with dealing with the winters.
Seeing these eared cattle, having a little more heat tolerance and disease and insect resistant, the climate that they have to face and the insect pressures that they have here, seeing these Brahman influence cattle, some of these F1s, crossbred type cattle, really unique, something that a lot of my producers are amazed by, and I've really enjoyed seeing here on the trip.
In addition to ranches and cattle operations, the group also got a very special tour inside Tiger Stadium with Louisiana Farm Bureau President Richard Fontenot. One of the big things you always hear these Farm Bureau members talk about, not just in Louisiana but other states as well, is that sense of community and family that comes with Farm Bureau. You put these Kentucky ranchers in a room with Louisiana folk and it's like they've known each other their whole lives. Being able to develop those contacts and having an understanding of how the other side lives is one of the biggest benefits of these kinds of tours. I saw it when our own ranchers visited Kansas earlier this month, and I saw it here on this trip too. And guys, both of these were really incredible experiences to really see how other ranchers live.
Well, Josh, it's official. You are now our cattle tour reporter. Thank you so much, Josh Meeks.
Well, leadership is an important value in Louisiana Farm Bureau, and we would not be the organization we are without the right people on top.
In our Road to Leadership series, we look at the qualities that make for a strong leader. This week, we start at the top with Louisiana Farm Bureau President Richard Fontenot.
I am Richard Fontenot, the Louisiana Farm Bureau President, and I farm in the Ville Platte area with my family on a 4th generation farm with my brother Neil, and we grow rice, soybeans, and crawfish. My father was president in 78 and 79 in Evangeline Parish, and my mother was on the women's committee, and I would attend convention as a youth and be one of those pesky kids running around, if you will, and just having a ball. But I started Farm Bureau exposure at that point. And then later on, after college, I got reintroduced to the Young Farmers and Ranchers program back in the 90s. So the Young Farmers and Ranchers program was the baseline of where we started, Ron and I as a couple in Farm Bureau, and we've embraced that. From there, I had the opportunity to serve on American Farm Bureau, YF&R, had the opportunity to go into the Partners in Ag Leadership program. Then after that, and during that process, I was recruited within the rice commodity, became an advisory chair at the end of the day on that, and then opportunity to serve on the state board. In 2015, one of my great mentors, Miss Linda Zombrecker, stepped down from 3rd vice president seat and opened a vacancy. Family decision was to pursue that, and we did that in 2015, and we stayed in leadership, and 9 years later, a vacancy arose again as president and leadership of our organization, and we were successful in getting elected in that position. I often get asked, where do you find the time and how do you make the time to contribute and spend all the time you do within the organization? And I said, if it's that important to you as part of your operation, part of your future, part of your succession, is to protect agriculture, you make time. There is sacrifice to do that, but I think there's value at the end of the day. Each parish throughout our state has a parish board, and they operate individually, and they are the grassroots of Louisiana Farm Bureau. And if you belong to a particular parish, reach out to their parish secretary or their parish president and engage in the fact that you are interested in serving in an opportunity. It might be commodity specific, it might be general, Young Farmers and Ranchers, women's leadership. We have a lot of different programs. We need volunteers and support. So I encourage you to reach out, share your interest, and I guarantee you, we do have a place for you in Louisiana Farm Bureau.
Join us next week when we'll profile Louisiana Farm Bureau First Vice President Marty Woldridge. Still to come on TWILA, is it the greatest of all time?
It's definitely the GOAT, but we'll let you be the judge if it's the greatest. Join us for Feasting on Agriculture, up next.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Welcome to Feasting on Agriculture. I'm Kristen Oaks White, and today we're in Franklin, Louisiana, where it is a beautifully goat-tastic day to play with some kids. And we're at Southern Maids Dairy, which is the largest goat dairy in Louisiana. And we're going to find out how this goat milk ends up from the goat to your table.
Of course he would do that.
Feasting on Agriculture is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, beef, it's what's for dinner, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, think rice.
My wife and I began our dairy about 9 years ago as we got ready to have kids, and I bought her 3 goats and a billy for our anniversary. And 9 years later, we now own the state's largest goat dairy. Our biggest thing was to start with good fresh milk, which is the closest thing to human breast milk, and then give our kids something really good, and then it just kept growing and going from there.
So did she like the 3 goats as an anniversary gift?
It's kind of a point of contention sometimes. We've turned it into something that we love to do, and It's neat too because our passion still, even though my children are older, I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 13-month-old, and they all still drink milk. We still to this day have moms and people who are working on, they want stuff for their kids and they want it as fresh as can be. If I get a phone call from a mom who is crying, her kid can't drink milk, they're colicky, they can't process it, can't break down the sugar, whatever, I'd like rush to those ladies and that's how we started.
So is there no lactose in their
There
milk?
is lactose, but that sugar molecule in goat's milk is, number one, is the closest thing to human breast milk, but it's a lot smaller. So it's a little bit easier for the body to process. This is our dry pen. And so all of our yearlings are our dry girls. It's kind of our ladies in waiting kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's probably about 40 or so in here between the two pens. But they stay out of the dairy barn. They're not in our way. We can feed them separately because they're on a completely different diet without being in milk.
Oh, you are so pretty.
You are so pretty. What is your name? What is your name?
Viola. Okay, so you mentioned that you've got a degree in criminal justice.
Mhm.
You also drove a truck. How do you feel about this new lifestyle on the farm?
When I owned my trucking company, I was gone all the time, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays, and missed the first couple years of at least one of my children growing up. To be at home and be able to go to baseball games and let our children learn some of the things that we're doing here on the farm, and a good hard work ethic and responsibilities of feeding animals and taking care of them, whether it's a puppy or a baby goat or big goats, or buffalo. It's a good opportunity to teach them that. And then, like I said, I get to be at home.
So you mentioned that probably every 2 weeks you clean out the barns, put some fresh shavings in. What do you do with all of the...
Well, so we actually utilize everything on our farm. So we have a pile that we compost all of our shavings and manure down in, and we actually use it to fertilize our hay fields. Our alfalfa and our peanut hay is not from here, but all of our other animal hay we actually do ourselves here, and for the buffalo and for the cattle. And so we have basically free fertilizer. We retail sell here off the farm, but we also retail at the Red Stick Farmers Market in Baton Rouge. We go to 2 of their locations, the one on Thursday by Pennington, and then the downtown Red Stick Farmers Market.
What is the one thing that you want, if it's somebody who's never bought your product before or stops and visits you at the farmer's market, what is the one thing that you want them to know about the product that you're selling to them?
Well, at the end of the day, it's how fresh it is, how beneficial it can be. We don't just do everything here goat. I mean, we eat beef and do other stuff like that. It's kind of having an approach with your nutrition and health that it can be something that you can add to. Whether it's a pound or 2 of goat meat or a half gallon of milk. Some people will ultimately change kind of some of their nutrition and what they're doing. My biggest thing is come try it. Just try it and then kind of make that decision.
We're back in the cheese room. That's what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in the cheese room with Nathan at Southern Maids Dairy, and I've got a treat for you because normally somebody else cooks on this show, but when I found out that we were doing goat milk products, I thought this would be a perfect addition because I got a Ninja Creamy. And to say that it's been a bit of an obsession recently is to put it mildly, and I came up with a recipe that I have integrated goat milk products in.
Okay.
And I think you're gonna like them. We'll test it out and see. So you have provided all of the ingredients for us because most of this is dairy.
Correct.
And so tell me what we've got today.
Well, so we do a 5 probiotic yogurt. We're one of 2 dairies in the state of Louisiana that still makes Creole cream cheese, and we have our goat cheese as well. And goat cheese is just that, it's goat cheese, very lightly salted, gives you a little bit of kind of that goat cheese flavor. Definitely gonna be different in any kind of recipe that you wanna do.
So we're gonna start with the yogurt.
Okay.
We're gonna do 8 ounces. Then we're gonna do 1/3 cup of Louisiana cane sugar. We are going to add a tablespoon of your Creole cream cheese. Whip this up.
Okay.
So we need the juice of 2 limes. This is supremely satisfying as well. We also need the zest of 2 limes. Okay, so now we're gonna add our lime juice. Man, this is nice having some help. A lot of these ice cream recipes have instant pudding, Philly instant pudding in it. It gives it like just a bit of creaminess, almost texture. Normally I would use a full tablespoon, but because I think we've got so much texture with the goat cheese, I think I'm gonna do about a half. And depending on what you're making, like it can add, you know, flavor.
Need that stirred.
Stirred, yeah. Okay, now for the amazing part, we're gonna do a cup of your goat's milk. Okay, so our last step is going to be, you brought a special treat because I forgot the vanilla flavoring. You've got your own vanilla that you use for your recipes here.
So we import pure vanilla from Mexico, and that's actually what goes into our cheesecakes.
Okay, so now we're gonna add our last bit of lime zest. So we're gonna put the top on it, make sure it's sealed. Then we're gonna stick this in the freezer for 24 hours, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Through the magic of television, we've got one already frozen. Ta-da! We're gonna put it in our blender. So we're gonna do light ice cream. Okay, our first spin is complete. Usually it takes a few because I'm gonna bet when I open it up, it's gonna be crumbly, a lot like feta cheese. So what we're gonna do is add just a touch more milk, and then we're gonna re-spin it. Our second spin is complete. Now we're going to dig a little tunnel in the middle and add our graham cracker. Now it's time for the judgment. Ta-da! Okay, so the proof is in the pudding or the ice cream, so we'll taste test.
So our favorite thing to do at the end of a long, hard day is enjoy some of our goat cheese cheesecake. That's also made with our chef and our Creole cream cheese.
Oh my goodness.
And it done?
Lord, that's good. Nathan, thank you so much for welcoming us out here today. Everything is beautiful that you're doing out here. Your products are amazing. I cannot wait to take some of it home with me. If you want to learn where you can find Southern Maids Dairy products, you can find a link on our website at twilatv.org, and we're also going to link you a recipe for the ice cream that we made as well. Until next time, we'll see you feasting on agriculture.
Feasting on Agriculture was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, Beef, it's what's for dinner, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, think rice.
That looked like a fun day, Kristen. Now the question is, since you and Landon have a little land around there in Natchez, when are you going to get the goats?
It is my goal in life after being there Monday to have a goat because they are such funny, intelligent, generally pretty clean creatures. I've had a deer, so it's almost the same thing.
Not much difference, and you'll have the entire Oaks White petting zoo / agritourism spot.
Yes, and I want to get one to breed so that we can get some milk and baby goats, but I have to get Mr. White on board, and he is not currently.
We'll work on that.
the ship, yeah.
We'll work on that. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll give you a tour of the newest lumber mill in North Louisiana.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find all of these stories on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know exactly when we put out new content.
For all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.